So this is 2011 ordinary level intersection of solids question. Okay, the focus seems to be going a little bit haywire on this visualizer, but hopefully it'll calm down once you start drawing a little bit. So what we have basically is a green structure, so I'm going to draw in green, and that a child could crawl through, and then we have sort of a cuboid structure, a red structure that sits in the middle. Now because of this, it makes it a little bit difficult to start off, but as usual, because of space for the picture, I want to get an end view put in here as well. So I'm hoping I'll have enough space to do this. I have an unusual situation in that I have this 80mm structure that I want to start off with, but I have 30mm here that I know about. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come down, let's see, what is it? It's 100 high, so I'm going to come down 120. I'll draw a heavy line and hopefully that'll stop the autofocus. I'll give it something to focus on. Okay, I'm going to come in again my maybe 10mm, maybe even 5, and I'm just going to go in 5, and I'm going to draw a light line here for the edge. Hopefully this will work out. I'm going to draw 30 here, and that's my bit on the left. Now I can't figure out these bits here or where these are until I draw it in plan first. So it's not unusual to have to start and plan. My only little bit I have a little bit of difficulty with is I need to start with this point next. And in order for me to start with this point, I don't know the exact distance here, right? And I want to keep this fairly close to the top. So I want to measure a distance when I'm happy with it. Unfortunately, I don't have numbers written on this side. So what I'm going to do is, I know that it's a cuboid. So basically this is 80mm, 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 80mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my set square here and I'm going to figure out, well, where can I get 80mm in? And again, the only reason I'm doing this is just to keep it close, because I want to try, I'm hoping the end view will fit in without me drawing on top of this. So what I did there, just to see, it's a little bit hard, I measured so that I have 80mm there, and I probably have a gap of slightly less than 10mm. So if you want to just use this video as a measurement, you come down 75 from here to this point. Okay, from here to this point. So I'm going to now measure 80 this way. Now we mark it off. And then we know it's 30 degrees this way. So because it's a cuboid, we're assuming that it's 90 degrees between edges. So it's 30 degrees one way and 60 degrees the other way. So hopefully my set square was in, or my t-square was in right, which it seems to have been. So we'll go between 4 and 12 there. Okay, and then we bring this down here. And so the only disadvantage of these small boards can be hard to keep the t-square in. I'm not convinced whether my end view is going to not start to go on top of that. But anyways, we'll continue on as is. This may have be the way you have to do it for the question. So I now need 30 more mil across from here. So if I want, I'll draw a light line up there and a light line here. Now what I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit easier to see, is I'm going to start using my colour. So as I said, I'm going to keep it the same as this. So this is a green structure, right? So I should actually just have this down a little bit further to know where to stop. I'm going to draw the plan view of the green structure, and we know that this point here is sort of the apex of the roof, or for anyone who doesn't know what the apex means, basically just where the two tips meet. So the very top, if I imagine it's a V structure, the very top would be the apex. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that. And again, this is what it looks like. So we know that from the apex, the tip, to the width of the side is 20, so it's 20 to the left and 20 to the right. So we'll come down 20 here, and draw a line like so. And we measure up another 20, and we put a little mark like so. Okay, and we bring that down, and we bring that down. And again, we're going to keep it the same as the picture, just to make it a little bit easier to figure out. So we're going to go with a red. And as I said, the distance I used, I come down 75 for there. That should keep it fairly close. Okay, so we're going to draw out the elevation as best we can. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get maybe just the outside of the green structures done. So we know that this is 100 high for the cuboid, but what we don't know is, or what we don't know straight off from this side, we need to look at this side, is what height the green, do they give a name for, just they call it the entrance tunnel, so we call it an entrance tunnel. So we know it's 90 to the very top, and then we know it's 75 basically to the walls. So what we'll do is we measure up 75, we'll put a little dot here, we'll measure up 90, and I'm going to measure up 100 on this one. Okay, I'm just going to slide this down a little bit just to get it to fit. Okay, I'm not too worried, I've gone a little bit too far there, basically because it's a light line, firstly, and secondly I'm going to need it for drawing the end view anyway. Okay, so I'm going to take my green again. I'm heavy in the basics of what I know about the green entrance tunnel, as they call it. So I'm just going to go up as far as here, and I'm going to go as far as there. They show it gone inside, but I don't know where it stops and where it finishes, so I'll come back to that. I'm now going to use my red, and we're showing this as a hidden detail line. So this comes there, and that would make sense, and it's here if you can see it, it's at the back. Okay, so that should join that. That was a little mistake that some people were making in the questions that I looked at so far, and should touch the bottom here. And we know that this one here is a hidden line too. Okay. Again, this should touch it, and that should touch there. And that makes sense, because if I stood here and I looked at the object, sorry, I need to slide back in my board again, and I looked at the object, so hopefully you can see that arrow there, I would see this edge, I would see some of this edge, I would see some of this edge, but some of it would be behind the green tunnel, and this edge here I wouldn't see. So that's why that's hidden detail. I would see this edge, as I said. So I mentioned before in previous questions, I really should be using a light construction line to show how they came up, make it easier for the examiner to see that I did it right, but also just in case I make a mistake, I'll still have a construction line that will probably locate a point even if I wasn't aware of it. So I'm sort of overall happy with that as my initial 2D. So I'm going to do the end view. Okay, so I'm going to draw, let's say, I'm going to draw a purplish line here. So I'm going to go down 45 degrees this way, and we'll see how this works out. Still not down far enough, which is suggesting to me that this is going to go on to the next view. So we'll use maybe just an orange just to change it up a little bit for these projection lines over it. I'm using a light orange and bringing every single point across. I will extend on my ground line, so blue line. Okay, so it's definitely looking like it's more going to crisscross. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up the green structure first, because at least that'll make it a bit easier to see for anyone who's not sure. Okay, so because this happens, you can do it two ways. You can do what I'm doing here, which I probably would do and let it crisscross into the drawing, or if you wanted to instead, you could also draw this out on a separate page and just use this or your iPad for the question. So we're happy enough there. That's basically this, the entrance tunnel here. So this will look like this. So again, I'm going to draw it in green. Try to help to see what we're drawing. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these off for the red. That one, sorry, a little bit short. For the red cuboid. Okay, so if you look there, you'll see I only brought over 3, but that's because one of the points here is also the center. Okay, so I'll just bring over the height because I hadn't finished that off. So the height is for the orange structure. Okay, or sorry, the red structure. So this here, again, I have to imagine myself, if I'm looking or figuring out which is solid and hidden detail, this is me standing this side. So if I look this way, I'll see this edge, I'll see this edge, definitely, they'll be solid. This here I may just see coming out the top, which I think is what's going to be the case, and this edge here I won't see. Okay, so we'll start with the one I won't see. So that's basically this one. So that'll be hidden detail up to the top, and again, make sure you start exactly down to the bottom and touch. By that I mean there shouldn't be a gap here. Okay, this one I will see, so that'll be solid. This one we said will just come out the top, and this here will be the other one. It's a little bit gone into the drawings, but it's not too bad. But again, if you leave this more than 5, or if you don't keep this as close, it's going to go over further. But it's not too bad there. Okay, so what I can see now is my end view is completed. So what I have to figure out in this case is let's see. This view here, I was looking at the question to see, does it say which one is incomplete? And it doesn't really. So sometimes it'll say incomplete elevation and plan, which would give you the hint that the plan is finished in full. But I can sort of see that. I don't have any of these lines here that haven't, I'm not sure where they stopped. So I'm going to start with this side here, okay? So we can see that the tunnel comes in through here and is going to give us some sort of slope. So again, in fairness, the model that they have is fairly accurate, okay? So that's basically this side. So I'm going to bring up this bit here. Again, I'll use my orange. And what I would do would be bring them all these points up and across both lines, because at least that way, if I happen to get it wrong, I'm still going to get the mark. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call these points, let's see, will we start from the bottom? We will, because we're going to see from the bottom anyway. So we'll call it A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, so if again we're just working on this side. So if we start here with A, this is where A is going to be. This is where B is going to be, because the two of them are on the same line. We follow down the center point there with C. This is where D and E are going to be. This is where D and E. I'm going to start with that labeling for this side. So if I want to bring this up here, this is A, and this is B. Okay, this is C, and this is D, and this is E. And how I'm doing that is basically I'm following this across. E has to be on this line, E has to be on this line. Now, I suppose I have to sort of think about now, well, if I'm standing here, so again I'm going to just draw my arrow here, which will I see? I'll see D and E, so I'll see this solid line, and I'll see it go across to C, but then it's going to go around the back, basically, and I won't see that. So I probably should have labelled it a different way, but anyways, it's good a way to look at it as anyway. So that's D to E. And then I'll see this line here. And as you can see here, it'll be a solid line. That solid line will continue on. You can sort of see it here from this question here, this one I'm trying to figure out. And then because it's gone around the back, this bit here will be hidden. And then this will also be, because this will be the flat edge at the back. So it's not symmetrical. The block is sort of tilted. It was 45 degrees and it went into it. Both of them would crisscross on top of each other and it would be symmetrical. But because they're tilted at a 60 degree and a 30 degree, you can see it's not as long at the back. So I'm happy enough with that side. On this side now it's going to be slightly different in terms of the fact that it doesn't go round this edge. So it's not going to go up to an edge. I'm going to see sort of the same shape, but it's just going to look more like this original shape, or probably just squashed together. So again, what I'll do first is I'll bring up these. And even if you're struggling with this question, everyone should be able to do this. So bring these up. Because what will happen is you'll accidentally get points there that you may not be 100% sure whether you have them right or not. And again, that sort of leads on to this. It gives me an idea that I'm sort of along the right lines. So anyways, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to label them 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'll just write the numbers on the inside. And 5. So again, if I'm starting on this side, so this is 1, and I have 2. This is 3. This is 4. And this is 5. So I'm going to have the same thing, and it's going to be the 4 and 5 side that I see. So again, if I look at this, this will give me a hint. But I'll bring these up and find these. This is 5, this is 4, this is 3, this is 2, and this is 1. So I could join them all together. But I want to sort of think about what's solid just for the question, right? If you don't figure out the hidden detail, I wouldn't worry about it because it's not going to be worth many marks. You're better off just joining it together. But just for the question to look right, we're just going to think about it. So 4 to 5, and again, I can see that. It then goes to 3, and I can see that. And then it'll come back down here, but I won't be able to see it. So 3 to 2 will be hidden, and 2 to 1 will be hidden. Okay, and then the final bit is just, well, that edge there will be seen. That will come across the bars there. And that edge there will come back like so. And after that, I think I'm pretty happy with my question. I have my 3 views done. I have my intersection and I have my points labelled. I have it done in green and red just so that it stands out. And I have my hidden detail nice and neat. So the aim is just to make sure the question is neat. As I said, if you want to use a bit of shading, which some people have done, that would make it look quite well. I wouldn't go overboard in the shading, use a light colour so that you can see it. Another thing that people are doing sort of incorrectly is going overboard with the pen. So some people are using pens. I wouldn't generally use a black to show an outline. And again, I'm using pens more so here because it shows up on the visualizer. It wouldn't be as good idea. If you want to, maybe you could take the green structure and maybe do it in a pen. Or do to say this intersecting part. I wouldn't do everything in a pen. Right, but if you want to, with a bit of shading, it can help you to make it a little bit easier to figure out. A pen might be the only reason I might say to use a pen would be like this, just to help you figure out which structure is which. But if you were doing that, I'd try to use a red and a green. And if you have those clicky pens, the blue ones that have the 4 colours in them, you'd have a red and a green in that. Okay, so that's the question done.